Welcome everyone. A beautiful sunny day outside in Melbourne or wherever you are today. Welcome to the Super September Business Over Lunch series, Business Mentoring, brought to you by the Phillips Brothers Foundation, the Business Benchmark Group and Cognisize Foundation. And we've got our resident experts on today, Stefan Kazakis, Andrew Phillips and Judd Murray. Our theme, we've got a bit of a theme today on belief, and I think that's the inner most important thing with business. I know when we ran ours that answering those questions, what is belief, why do you need belief, and how do you use belief are good ways to start our session today. And really, to me, what I thought about belief was that there's that supreme self-confidence, that self-esteem, feeling very comfortable in your own shoes and what you can do and your skills and your qualities and your background. And it gives you that deep inner strength to really drive for whatever success you want in life and or business. And why do you need belief? Well, in setting goals, setting plans, pushing yourself to your limits or to out of your comfort zone, and to achieve that purpose that you set out to achieve at the start. How do you use it? I think it's really important leading, connecting people, empowering yourself, and then obviously the collective and others. And I know Judd's going to talk a bit about well-being and the collective well-being of others today in his session. Stefan's going to focus a bit on the 6 keys to high-performing teams today. And he's going to have 3 unique selling propositions and the 3 R's to profit. And obviously that is the key in business and builds business. Andrew's going to just recap for those that missed us and couldn't jump on last week. We started our 5 or 6 session series last week. He'll have a summary on startup business, and hopefully a lot of the young entrepreneurs out there and the people starting off in businesses will gain a lot from the journey that Andrew had with his business. He'll talk about the growth phase today and rapid growth and how it can be slow at times and can be out of control, it feels like at times. So I'm sure there'll be some great insights. As always, journal, write down any questions you may have. The chat's open. We'll focus in on the most relevant questions as they come through. I had quite a few last week. There may be some carryovers because we do have a pretty select program each week from our guests. And I know Phil had one about CEOs and when and how and what effect they are in your own self-made business. So there's a great session on that with Andrew. He'll address that next week. Again, just if we can, you're welcome. It's recorded sessions. You're welcome to have your camera on, but let's mute while the speakers are going so we get a nice clear connection. Without further ado, I think we're ready to go. The only other thing I'd say is from belief is definitely when we played a fair bit of professional sport in our early days, very different to the careers young people can have today and make a really good living from. It's still got that one ingredient, which is deep inner belief and that real striving and hunger and that super confidence and strength of character to really drive your own destiny. And I think that was a big thing Andrew and I had in our business. And, our dad really encouraged us to never work for a boss, run your own show, and really instill that then in your team and your key people. That was the key for us in driving the success of our business. So without further ado, we're going to go straight over to Andrew. Welcome.
Oh, thanks, Anthony, for the great introduction this morning. This afternoon now. I think it's terrific for those who've been able to tune in today and also to backtrack on last week at the various levels that people are on their journey in business. And the theme that we're going to focus on today, I'm absolutely rapt because it was an area that it is fast-paced. You've got to be up for the ride, and I certainly love this part of our journey at Camp Australia. For those that are listening in from Camp Australia, they'll probably be very familiar with this section, and we're a huge part of its growth. So today I'm going to have a little recap on just the startup, and then we'll move into those particular areas of fast growth. So again, welcome to all those new faces today, and we're hoping to build through just connections, both Anthony and mine in the Phillips Brothers Foundation and Stefan and Judd, to open up this seminar series over the next 4 or 5 weeks. So feel free to invite any of your friends and colleagues as we're going along. So from last week, I just wanted to recap some of the startup summary points that I made. So those of you who were listening, you may have had time to reflect actually and look at why. Why are you in business? Are you in the right business? Are you in a business of passion and purpose? Would you pivot if you needed to? Would you think within your current business there's other opportunities that you haven't seen yet? We did that. We changed direction some 3 or 4 times within the first decade as we found different purposes and passions. Establishing your values, ours again, professional, ethical, respectful, grateful. Have you thought further about that? And is your business society need or want? To recap for us, we were starting in sports coaching, fitness, etc., which was a definite need, but childcare became a want, and childcare became a huge need. So we focused heavily on that. Go hard, don't procrastinate, focus. Find and hire great people, depending on the size of your business and where you're at. Add mentors and advisors at the right point. For us, it was at the very beginning. We had a couple of questions last week on that too. So find people that you admire, aspire to be, both in business and in friends, and ask them for assistance. Most you will find really do want to help and give their experience. Build your systems. Make sure cash is king at the start as your startup business for survival. Stefan went on about that last week, about the amount of businesses that survive within 12 months and up to 5 years. And it's not a great statistic. So we're aiming through this support to help you get through these early phases, keeping it simple, basically get stuff done. And, you know, a really important one that we learnt later on with the CEO that joined us is that, you know, there's not much strategy. Once you set your goals, and I'll talk a little bit more about that today, you know, majority of your day should be about execution, getting it done. So that's the summary of startup. And moving on to rapid growth today, I was once reminded by one of our very early CFOs, we were changing so rapidly. We had cash flow coming in, we had rapid, you know, a lot moving through the business, a lot of moving parts. And he described it as sometimes it feels like you're driving a Ferrari in a Formula One race, but there are no pit stops. You just have to fix on the go. Are you ready for this ride? So I ask you all in your businesses where you're at this point. We were ready for the ride, but again, we couldn't take time to stop and fix things. We had to get things moving on the go, the old 80-20 rule. If it's 80% right, get it out there, get it going, move the business on, don't procrastinate. In this phase, sales and marketing becomes really, really critical. There's nothing like getting a sale each day and bringing revenue in. Obviously, how the operations team and finance team and HR team handle it, but the salesperson, it's usually you, the entrepreneur, the main person running the business, is driving this growth. It comes from a DNA, it comes from a goal-orientated position that you've put yourself in. And I think we did discuss this last week, that nobody else is going to do this early. You will build a team around you with the same cultures and values, but certainly early on, the sales and marketing focused growth will come from you. My brother and I were probably lucky in a way that our skills and talents, although aligned and collective, were different. I was in the sales part of the business. My brother ran the operations, and you know, any slight, I guess, when we looked at the differences that we were trying to drive through, I was driving the business sales, and he was putting a lot of pressure on getting the operations right. So it was always a delicate balance for us. So we had to watch the last 3 feet. But I used to always say, sales drives the operations, not the other way around. So don't wait for things to get perfect in your business. Drive the sale and you work it out later. I'll give you an example of this with Caulfield Grammar School. It ended up being one of our biggest contracts that we ever had. I met the principal and he wanted 150 sports coaches in the next few weeks, and we'd never ever had the capacity or capability of doing it. And I just said yes straight up to him, and I went back to my brother. I said, we'll work it out later. The principal said to me, he's never done anything like this in his life, and he said, please don't stuff this up for me, otherwise our whole school I'm responsible for will go down. And so we worked our butts off and we made it happen, and 13 years later we had the most successful sports program in independent schools in Australia through Caulfield. So I do say to you as a business entrepreneur in this rapid growth phase, say yes, work it out later. Last week we talked about building market share and having a real crack at your business. So this is a really great example in fast, rapid growth. Another one that will come up quite regularly is if you're focusing on your own business and not competitors. We had a few competitors spin off out of our own business, and at times you do lose focus looking at what other people are doing. I say as a business growth entrepreneur, focus on yourself. Anthony talked about it earlier about self-confidence, inner strength and belief. Absolutely back yourself and thank your competitors every day. One of our board members who may be online today, Tim Donahue, and his brother Paul, I never could work this out early in our advisory sessions. He said, thank your competitors every day. And I used to hate my competitors. It's like imagine in the AFL, they all want to beat each other up every match. But what I did learn about it is it drives you to improve yourself, improve your business. So healthy competition is really good to keep driving you forward. I do ask you now to have a think about you and what your goals were at the start of your business, and now if you're moving into rapid growth and being relentless and uncompromising. Why I use those two words is I've been talking to a number of entrepreneurs in the last year about rapid growth, and it's not an easy ride. You've got to be ready for it, and you've got to bring a team on that's ready for it. And these two words really came to my mind, being relentless and uncompromising. And I do want to make sure it's not mistaken for being an asshole. There's a very big difference being focused and in control, certainly with your customers, but we can do this with respect, calm, peaceful approach in business, but relentless and uncompromising is the way to move forward. Also making sure you take time to celebrate the wins, ringing the bell. And I mean literally finding a bell and ringing it with your team. I remember nothing better than when we had some wonderful wins in our business, telling the entire team, stopping the business of people in the head office and then sending emails out to the entire team about the successes we had. It does give everyone a real buoy in their step. Ultimately, with building your customer base, you're trying to move a customer along into this advocacy area for them to become a raving fan and tell everyone else without you having to keep spruiking yourself. So once you've built that brand, it builds a serious, sustainable goodwill. Again, focusing on what we started with last week, culture and values in your business. Making sure you protect as the leader and the entrepreneur, the cultures and the values, and as you bring team members in, that they also respect that culture and the values and drive it forward. One of our childcare operations managers, who I think may be online today, she will remember this story very well. It's not about the jam. And we ended up using this story in many of our training sessions. Camp Australia had about 3,500 staff towards the end of our 30-year journey and a couple of hundred at head office. And I used this story in one of our training sessions, which I wanted to raise with you today, is that I worked very hard for about 8 to 10 years on one particular sale, Ashburton Primary School. We started very slow. We just got our nose in the door. We put a couple of staff members in. We built this program up after 5 or 6 years, and then over about a decade, it was one of our best schools. And as more and more people went through the school and staff members, we ended up having a few little problems. And at one particular stage, and this is relevant for our business, everyone's got their own little story, we provide food for children in childcare, and we ran out of jam. And the staff member on site did not realise the impact of the child's disappointment. They didn't have jam. That then ended up to the parent and ended up to the principal, ended up to the regional manager, ended up to our operations state manager, our national manager, ended up in my email. So it ended up being my problem. We didn't have some jam at our childcare site. Well, the staff member didn't really think too much about that, didn't worry about it much, told the regional manager, also didn't realise and think much about that. But of course, Rosa, our national operations manager, knew what we meant about our culture and our values is about, we need to get the jam down to that school right now. So we got the jam, we bought it, we took it down to the school. Long story short ending that we ended up saving our contract there and went to the nth degree about making sure that the customer is always right and you've got to act quickly. So you may have your own, it's not about the jam story, but for us, it was a way in which we could continue to train all of the staff coming into our business about the impact and what you do to care for the customer. Stefan, I'm sure, will have more to say about that in his session. But when you are in rapid growth fire, bringing customers on that become advocates in the end, they'll spruik your business faster and wider than you can ever do. So make sure you always deliver on the jam. Another program takeaway for today that I'd like to raise with you is what we just developed is called the 3 program, the last 3 feet. And our board were always very, very important focus for us was to never lose sight of the last 3 feet in your business. So for us, it was about childcare. What was the child doing every day in our childcare centre? What are our staff doing? What were our parents seeing? What were our principals seeing? What were our entire business doing to make sure that our last 3 feet was protected, which was our operations, which would allow us to drive the next sale. So we came up with a training development program that started with all of the staff that would look after our children at the last 3 feet. And I believe this is critical for all individual interactions, and we trained this throughout our business. 3 seconds. How do we impress on somebody? Or you think about it now when you meet somebody, you can make an assessment of somebody within 3 seconds. Did they smile at you when you walked past them on the dog walk this morning? Did they say a brief hello, good morning? Did you get a very strong sense of their personality within that first moment? For us, it was about children and staff. How did they interact with the parent and the child on that first moment they welcomed them? How were they in those first 3 minutes? When you talk to somebody, you get a vibe of the energy or lack of energy within the first few minutes. For us, our sessions lasted over 3 hours. So how are we going to engage children and the parents that were entrusting us with their children for that session, that first critical session of coming under our care? The parents' most precious asset in their world was their child. How are we going to impress upon them within that first 3 hour session? 3 days. Would they come back? We used to measure frequency and occupancy in our business, how many times a child came during a week and how much of the percentage of the school used as frequency occupancy. So 3 days was a critical time factor for us to make sure that the children were coming back. 3 weeks. Once we knew the children were coming for 3 weeks and 3 months, we knew that that whole 3 development program was working, and ultimately we would build contracts with schools with more and more children over 3 years, and we sustained this for 30 years. So you can think about this in your business. What is your jam story? What is your 3 program? How do you go about making sure your rapid growth is underpinned by serious operations that deliver the ability for the entrepreneur and the sales team to go out and continue adding revenue into the business? And lastly today, I wanted to talk about the Rockefeller habits, which for me and Anthony and our entire team underpinned a serious 10-year journey after we started this program about 20 years into our 30-year journey, and we sold our business just on 30 years. So we're about 8.5, 9 years through this particular Rockefeller habits journey. And Stefan, interestingly, went to the same seminar as me, an American fellow that was delivering these Rockefeller habits. We all know of 10-page strategic plans and the seminars and the conferences you go to with a myriad of things you take away and think, how am I going to implement this? Well, I went to this one-day seminar, July 2018, and I came back to our business with Anthony and said, I think we've found a simple way to approach this rapid growth. And it started with a big, hairy, audacious goal. And for the Camp Australia executives listening today, they'll know this because we drummed it in every week, every month, every quarter, every year, over a 10-year period, a big, hairy, audacious goal. So let me take you through this. It was a 10-year vision. It wasn't a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. It was just a 10-year long vision, a setting of a goal that was seemingly implausible and unachievable, even unreachable. And I know we talk about making sure we do measure goals and they are reachable, but in this particular thing, I want you to dream big, like Anthony mentioned earlier. Dream about numbers that you can't even fathom today. And I'll give you some examples of how we did it in a moment when you're setting your goals and what these goals are. Some of them can be personal. Some of them can be specific to your widget within your business. Obviously, some of them can be financial and numerical. And a big, hairy goal is that it's putting it out so far that you put it in your drawer and you forget about it. It's 10 years out. And for us, it was number of schools. We were currently sitting after 20 odd years at 200 schools, and we put a target of 1,000 schools. Our kids' attendances per week were 20,000, and we set 100,000 as our target. And we had some revenue and profit drivers as well. And my last point there is we actually sold at 8.5 out of 10 years through this journey, achieving 3 out of 4 of our goals that we believed were, as I said at the start, implausible and unreachable at the time. Underpinning this then, after a 10-year goal set, which is the easy part, by the way, of setting these absolute long-term journey, is about then getting down to the dirty, the nitty-gritty of actually what you do every week. Our CEOs say we've got 168 hours a week to get stuff done. So the first part after setting your BHAG, your 10-year goals, is about the top 5 problems in your business. I remind you, like going through a wedding album for those who've been married and you've got about 180 photos and you think, how am I going to get this down to 10 photos? It's a culling process. In our businesses, we do always have a myriad of problems to fix. You can't do them all at once, and it's a big C. So you've got to be very discerning about what your top 5 goals are, what your top 5 problems are, and then even further, establish your top 1 of 5 and focus on it. For ours, we identified 5 problems after 20 years. People not paying us. Our top 1 of 5 was our parent debtors. Our human resources, we were a human resource business. We had to build a casual labour machine throughout our country. We had to have fast, rapid sales growth to establish a market share. Our last point was included in that. We had to expand around Australia. And our 4th point, we needed to develop sustainable systems in IT development to make sure that our administration was capable of handling this rapid growth. They were our top 5. After today, I think you could sit down and take an hour to reflect on what are the top 5 problems in your business today. Be very discerning, come up with your top 5 and then your top 1 of 5. Just to be prescriptive on our parent debtors, our top 1 of 5 took us 3 years to complete fixing this problem, and about 50 programs that we had to deliver through IT development, government intervention. It was an amazing project. So it's not an easy goal. I'm not saying that they are fixed within a week. Ours took 3 years to fix our first problem, but we inched forward in what I'm going to talk about in the next slide is in 90-day, hang on, I'll go back a second. Every 90 days, we had to reflect on what we're going to do, reset our goals, see what we'd achieved each time. So the next part of it is data, alignment, and rhythm. So every 90 days, we would break our year. We've got our 10-year plan. Yes, we know where we're headed, but we've got to break that down into every 90 days. For us, it was every school term. So every quarter of a year, we would reflect back on our goals, our top 5, our top 1 of 5, and what do we achieve in those 90 days. We would reset every 90 days. We would pass on some of the goals to be continued. We'll have executed some of them so they could be taken off our working program. Or we would say that goal is no longer relevant now, we've moved through 90 days. And how we achieved that was these 3 areas. We had to make sure we knew what we were looking at. So we needed the data to tell us how we were measuring. That took a lot of development in IT and a lot of deep thinking about the specific things that were relevant to measuring our business. There'll be numbers, there'll be finances, there'll be team members, there'll be all sorts of things for you, but making sure you've got the relevant data. Alignment. This one is a really critical one. Does everybody in your team, whether you've got 1, 2, 5, 10 or 100 or 1,000 people, know as a business owner where you're headed? Because if they don't know where you're headed, they won't move in that direction with you. So you need to get your team aware, sharing your vision. I used to make a comment to Anthony when we're first opening up all of our data and making sure our team knew. It would be like playing as adults on the MCG and having no scoreboard, no goals. I mean, we're not playing kiddlywinks. We're not at kindergarten. So we're dealing with adults. So give them a respect of knowing the business. Give them the alignment of where you're going and make sure they're on the journey with you. share with truth and honesty. And lastly, the rhythm. Making sure you're establishing weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual meetings, and you never miss these meetings. Guys, I can tell you that this BHAG in fast, rapid growth is the most effective way of achieving goals that you cannot even believe at the moment. It is the clearest and easiest path forward for business plans. And as I said at the start, we've all gone to many, many seminars and sometimes get awash with the amount of data and information that's coming in. Setting the Rockefeller Habits BHAG, the 90-day goals, the top 5, the top 1 of 5, the data alignment and rhythm, and we can talk about it further outside of this session as how we might implement. And some of the work I'm doing in our mentoring sessions has helped people focus on these areas. Recently, I've been talking to one of our executives that's still at Camp Australia that after we sold 3 or 4 years ago, and he said he can't believe how simple this is and how little many businesses actually do it this way. But if there can be a way to focus on these basic areas, the significant lift you'll get is incredible. So in conclusion for my session today, coming back to Anthony's focus, dream and believe. Our chairman, our father, took us away in 1993 to one of his favourite spots in Flinders where he used to take his corporate businesses. And we were sitting at just on $300,000 of revenue in 1993, having started in 1987. So 6 years in, and he gave us the target of a $1 million revenue business. So at that stage, it seemed quite hard. We've been going 6 years and had established 300,000. Well, in the end, after 30 years, it was about 150 times the size of that. It was an amazing belief and dream in ourselves. My second point on this is to check in. What are your personal goals? What are you doing within your life, your partner, husband or wife or partner, children, extended family, friends, local community, broader world? Anthony and I took time to make sure we were looking after ourselves and our family and our business family as well, and making sure we bring everybody into that circle. But you do need to check in. Fast, rapid growth is not for everybody. It does take effect on you personally and your family. So you've got to get a lot of buy-in from those closest to you and your team around you. Once you've given that data alignment and rhythm and everybody's on board, that dream and that belief can grow significantly. Change, it'll always happen in business. Expect it, embrace it. Our father used to say you get about 7 years in any business cycle. And for us, we had about four of those cycles. Make sure you're ready and expect and embrace change. And finally today, one last pillar that my father, our chairman, used to always say, and it's absolutely in rapid growth, the only way is up. There are going to be many things that knock us down. And we think, Anthony and I, in this particular phase of our business, we almost lost our business 4 or 5 times. Cash flow and team members and all sorts of things that we just didn't think we could do it. But the only way is up, is to keep fighting, keep believing in yourself, dream and believe. And these things that I've talked through today about the Rockefeller habits at the start will help you in this rapid growth phase. So thank you, Anthony. And next week, we're going to be focusing on adding significant value. I look forward to seeing you all then.
Thanks, Andrew, and some great reference points, some great sharings as it relates to the impact of belief, having a purpose, a strong purpose, a vision, an ability to see further, an ability to go to the edge of the cliff first, because again, it's your business. You are the leader. The importance of knowing that until such time that it becomes predictable for what it's like to go to the edge, to go again, you don't take your team to the edge. You must always go there first. And hence, belief is one of those key aspects as it relates to building a business that's going to outgrow, outperform, and definitely outlast you. So going back to the early days of my business journey, I guess when I took over mum and dad's textile manufacturing business in the 90s, ended up growing the business to 70 people, down from 4. That was 120 before that. One of the key concepts I learned very early with my mentor, Basil Port, who He was my coach. He was my mentor, and paid at that for over 12 years. What he taught me was a very important lesson, the importance of what it actually takes to build a high-performance team. And the first part of building a high-performance team is always and squarely, particularly in small business, whether you're in startup or rapid growth. And again, many clients that I've worked with over the years, going from Frank Panisi and Melbourne Storm, 7-8 years ago, I shared this concept to the executive team there. As recently, a 13-year client of ours has seen this for about the 50th time. That's Brendan Dover from the Drain Man. It always starts with strong leadership. Strong leadership is about passion. Strong leadership is about responsibility. As a leader, you have a responsible part of the winning game so that you are delivering on time and on budget. That's the customer. You are attracting the right customer. But way before all that, you have a responsibility to making sure that your team is secure and safe and are expected, as job security has it, to be paid on time every time and to be part of something that's going somewhere. So strong leadership is not about he who is or she who is the strongest. It's sometimes and very often the one that has the highest level of responsibility and fortitude to go through the journey. Strong leadership. Success does not come overnight. Success is a journey. Success is a doing word. It continuously challenges and it continuously turns up, and it rarely gets celebrated, this thing called success. And hence, if you can embark on gratitude and celebration as it goes with the journey called business and success, strong leadership, because it doesn't come around early, and when it does, it's your ability to keep on pushing forward that makes the difference. Common goal. What is the common goal of the business? What is the purpose? I mean, we just heard a big, hairy, audacious goal. But if it's not common, if it's not understood, if it's not shared, if it's not aligned, if it has no scoreboards and scorecards with it, then what's so common about that? And therefore, every other day, every other week, every other month, we've got a very different idea as to what is our goal, what is our purpose, how do we get from point A to point B and front up again to do it again. So common goal. So I have a poll that I want to share right now. Do you have scorecards for each of your key function areas? I shared lead flow, workflow, and cash flow last week as, I guess, the key function areas of your business. Lead flow is about attracting the ideal customer and making it easy for them to buy. Workflow is about delivering on time and on budget and a little bit more than what you promised. And cash flow is about having the scorecards to confirm all the moving parts of the business, all the key areas of the business are moving from point A to point B, and therefore it gives you a real clear opportunity to confirm what is working versus what is not working, and thereafter, what are we doing about it? The adjustment, the pulling on levers to ensure that you are moving more and more towards what is the goal, the outcome, the purpose, the big, hairy, audacious goal. So very important. So can you please complete that poll? Third key to a winning team. And remember, as a 24-year-old running a business that I didn't want to be running, I certainly did not want to get involved in mum and dad's business. And at that point, we were starting to attract Nike, Adidas, and Puma, the AFL. We still do the AFL badges that get worn by grand final teams on grand final day. I reckon this is the first year since 2001 that we won't be doing that. So really interesting. Rules of the game. What is the culture play? What is it that is acceptable in your business? What is not acceptable? What are the virtues? What are the values? What do you have as a business a bias to? This is the way we do it. Now, when you think about rules of the game, they are no different to guardrails. This is what's acceptable within the field of play. And you can certainly take the ball from the back line and take it into the forward line and kick a goal if you wish to. However, if you keep on doing that and you get tackled and we're getting goals kicked against us, that is not part of the rules in the game that we are playing. So how do we fail fast and learn quickly, adapt, innovate, execute, measure, realign? That is the key to having a business that has strong leadership, a common goal, and rules of the game. How do you ensure there is an action plan? I mean, we just heard a significant debrief, an unpacking of something that went on to become an amazing benchmark business, Camp Australia. Andrew just shared what he actually did, what they actually did. They had a 10-year goal broken down into bits and pieces, thereafter moving into 90-day plans. So I want to put this poll up for everybody. Does everybody have an effective and efficient 90-day plan that gets rolled over every 90 days? You either do or you don't. In saying that, who does what by when is the most appropriate action plan, all benchmarked back to a scoreboard that is ensuring we are moving in the right direction, or we better change the game plan sooner than later. It gives you a chance for correction. So action plan, very important aspect to a high performance team, a winning team, whether it's you in the mirror or you and 50 other people on the team, it makes no difference. Number 5, support innovation, support risk-taking. Allow everybody on the team to be very comfortable with adding an element of this is how we can do it better. Constant ever improvement. The most famous, I guess, model in the world, Kaizen, continuous improvement. How do we ensure we are supporting innovation, supporting ideas, supporting risk-taking in our business? So that's not just to the critical few. However, the plenty on the team, 100% of everyone on the team can contribute to how can we do this better. There is never a team meeting on a weekly basis, a business benchmark group, whether you are a customer or you are actually a team member of Business Benchmark Group, where we are not constantly asking the most important curiosity question, can we do this better? Are we supporting the boat go faster? Not faster because we got speed as our intention, but faster because of efficiency, faster because we got capacity to deliver. We've got an obligation to help more business owners have less sleepless nights and or understand that they are on the right path or not. Support innovation. And number 6, which I feel is, when you think about the bookends, strong leadership and 100% included, which is the leader's responsibility. The leader decides who is to be included. And what I'm sharing, as I learnt very early and have shared it with thousands over the journey, 100% of your team, if they're on your payroll, they need to be included. That is a leader's responsibility. 100% need to be involved. It's up to the individual as to how involved they choose to be. Your job as the leader is to have them included. Their job as the individual is to decide how involved do they want to be. Do they want a surface level? Is this just a 9 to 5er? Or is this something that they're bringing their heart and mind to, which impacts their ultimate value that they bring to the business? 6 keys to a winning team. 3 selling propositions. I mean, I'm not sure about you guys. I hate being sold to, but I love to buy. I mean, when you just think about that, I hate being sold to, but I love to buy. The 3 selling propositions to building a benchmark business, not a mediocre, not a hopeful, not a wishful, a benchmark business. The first and the most important, and many of you, I suspect, would have heard this, what is your unique selling proposition? That's the first selling proposition. What makes you unique? Now, in Australia and most countries in the world, you have competitors. Love your competitors. It's really important to know what they had for breakfast yesterday and what color underwear they're wearing today, but not at the expense of understanding what makes you unique. What is it about your business that makes you unique? Not different, unique, consistent, reliable, dependable, trustworthy, all aspects of making your business unique. No money down. This is all culture. How is it that you are building and communicating a reputation about your emotional selling proposition? In other words, you understand what are the emotional triggers as to your ideal customer and why it is that they should be and need to be voting with their wallet in your direction. Ultimately, if you look at our banner at Business Benchmark Group, we work with business owners. No discrimination. You could be a $500,000 revenue a year business. You could be a startup business, or our biggest client's $180 million with 300 people on the team, and he's 87 years old. Go figure. He still gets coached. Unbelievable. Attention business owners, are you frustrated by a lack of cash flow? That's an emotional trigger. If you cannot make ends meet and or are going to bed every day thinking, how am I going to pay the bills in the next week? That's a lack of cash flow. Typically related to attracting wrong customers and selling the wrong product or service at the wrong price. Being stressed, huge emotional trigger. Being lonely and isolated, running a dysfunctional team. Being a procrastinator, you just cannot make a decision because the last 10 you made didn't work, or you didn't have the fortitude to see it through, and therefore you feel like you can't make any more decisions. The pressure's getting on at home, and therefore there's a problem. Or you are being exhausted and time poor. I'm just giving you an example of what are the emotional selling propositions. It's the red line above our phone number there that makes the real impact though. I'm in the business of helping people achieve a better quality of life. Do you deserve a better quality of life? Is the Business Benchmark Group emotional selling proposition. And we deliver it, and we've been delivering it since 2005 more times than ever. So in your business, what business are you actually in? Who is the customer that you actually serve? And how is it that you can walk in their shoes and help them cross the bridge from frustration to freedom, from problem to solution, to issues to breakthrough? How is it that you can do that? And this is where people buy. People buy you. You build a reputation as an organization, whether you're a startup, whether you're a social entrepreneur, or you are actually into your 10th and 20th million dollars in business. It is about how do you ensure you are relevant and up to date, and most importantly, very, very recent as it relates to being in touch with the emotional selling proposition. As you get your unique selling proposition and emotional selling proposition working to a degree where you are building reputation, what you now are doing is building a community selling proposition. This is a phenomenal model that just keeps on moving in a cyclical sort of way. What makes you unique in 5 years' time? How is it that you're attracting the ideal customer and making it easy for them to buy? And how is it that you're building a community that is ultimately, it's not about you and what you say and your mum being proud of that. It's about what they are saying about you that makes it so much more relevant. In other words, it's your community selling proposition that is building your uniqueness, and therefore you don't need to sell because there are plenty waiting to buy. Very important. So these are the 3 selling propositions to building a benchmark business. And there's never a day where you should wait to get those 3 areas really clear and sorted in your business. Day one and every day thereafter needs you to be thinking across all 3 key areas. There's a third poll that I wanted to just put up there. Do you have a structured sales process that makes it easy for your ideal customers to buy from you? Yes or no? Pretty simple. Before I'll give you guys 30 seconds on that poll. Literally, you don't need to think too hard about that. I want you to be, actually, can everyone just give me one word in the chat? Go to your chat right now. Give me one word. What are you thinking right now? What is going through your mind right now? We have over 45, 50 people on the call right now. What's one word that describes what you're thinking right now? Just put that into the chat. Get practice with the chat. We're going to be opening up the Q&A in a couple of minutes. So what I'm going to share with you right now is the 3 R's to building a profit times 3 business. The first thing you must do is keep on attracting ideal customers. That is the first and foremost. So I'm going to take that as a gimme. We're all attracting ideal customers. We're all dealing with customers we love, they love us, and they're going to stay forever. Clients for life, otherwise known as. In doing that, though, you have an obligation or responsibility to be delivering results. Whatever was their problem, you have a business that delivers results. And if you can continuously deliver results, then you will be what is referred to in the world of business, a repeat business model. In other words, people keep on buying from you because you keep on serving them and doing the right thing. So results plus repeat business plus the privilege of receiving referrals. Your current A-grade customers are introducing you to future A-grade customers for which the business and the referrer and the referee are now profiting times 3. And I'll show you how this works. A results-driven, repeat-driven, and referral-based business, which is no money down. No money down. This is about getting the best level of juice for the squeeze in your business. If you are building results and getting repeat, which is very important, and if you do these 2 things really well, then referrals comes along the way too. Now you're building a business that has profit times 3. The first party of the profits is the original customer that is getting served by a business that keeps on elevating, innovating, and continuously at the forefront. I'm going to call a benchmark in their industry. So that's the customer. The customer introduces someone to your business that's going to be privileged and treated as a VIP as they go on the journey and buy from you. So that's the second party that profits in this model. And the third, and always the third in line, is the business that keeps on delivering and excelling on the promise. So the fourth poll I have for you guys today, and I'm almost done, is do you have a clearly defined and actioned referral system in your business? And if you do, great. Have a look at that scoreboard and tell you, and let's see what it's telling you. If you don't, time to work on one. A referral system is a system that needs to keep on working, but it starts with client and customer journey. It starts there. It starts with a client service selling proposition. So that's me for today. I've got a lot more to share. I know we're running a little bit behind schedule today. I'm going to pass over to Judd, and power to each one of you. We'll be back on board with the Q&As in a couple of minutes. Over to you, Judd. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to be using a PowerPoint and doing some live stuff. So, yeah, thanks, Stefan. Thanks to Anthony, and thanks, Andrew. Fantastic information. My job basically is to start talking to you a bit more about the well-being of yourself, and your associates, your business itself as well. So the big thing I'm going to talk to you today is really about taking care of the small parts. As Andrew said in that great description about his business and Anthony's business, the Camp Australia model, they always attended all the small parts. They cared for their assets. Yeah, that slide you had up about, it's not about the jam. Taking care of what's important, all the small assets to build the functionality and the power of the business. And we are, in ourselves, a business. So taking care of ourselves and then taking care of the collective is how we take care of the well-being of our business. So if I just jump onto some slides here. Okay. Sorry for one sec. I'll try and get it up. Okay, so I'm trying to get it up onto the screen for you. Apologies for that. Okay, so last week we talked about what was well-being. We talked about it being basically a positive and confident state of health and commitment and contentment. And really that's the important thing. This sense of confidence from your business is really important. Making sure that you actually believe, which is the topic of today, believe in yourself and your capacity to actually achieve. Making sure that when you actually say something, that you can actually deliver it as well. And that's really important. You've got to be able to believe in your value proposition, what you bring to the table, and what the collective members of your business bring to the table. Really understanding your value and your purpose. So you've got a collective purpose, you're all working to that one purpose, and that way there's no surprises. And as Andrew was saying, which is a really good statement too, having these regular updates, these regular meetings where you can really work together to maybe fine-tune that purpose, making sure that that purpose is still being attacked, it's still being realised. And that's really important. That belief and growth through practice and experience is really important, because at the end of the day, a belief in yourself comes from the knowledge that you can. And that's where you've really got to put yourself out there. So it's about doing. And you hear that, you hear Stefan talking too about doing. It's great to have theories and it's great to postulate and to work through ideas, but at the end of the day, you've actually got to put that time in. You've got to work at it. And well-being is the same. You've got to make sure you put the time in, taking care of all the little parts. So one of the big things that's happening at the moment is we've got this big issue in our society with habitual behaviours and preventable disease. And really one of the, I suppose, the tragic parts of this is that prevention is really something that we have control over. We can choose to get up and move more. We can choose to eat better. We can choose to move in a more positive, physically built, strengthening way, or we can choose not to. We have the power to make that choice and that responsibility. The sad thing is, collectively, a lot of us aren't. As businesses, we stand to actually influence others. We can, through our own example, really make good choices and try and change the habitual behaviours of a big part of society. Leading by example is our power. And the big point too about that leading by example is that we actually have to make sure we have that plan. Andrew was talking about the plan. Stefan's been talking about the plan. We're all talking about planning to succeed. We're all talking about developing strategies that involve others, that network, those people we can trust, those people we can rely on, to build a plan, a roadmap. And well-being is the same. I coach people every day. I'm always working with people, those with major troubles, physical and mental, and those who are actually high-flying and doing really well, in the zone, so to speak. Every single one of them, I'm working through a strategy, a roadmap. They check in regularly to make sure they're still on target. Like a compass, they use their roadmap to keep them aiming north, to keep them facing the future that they are actually aspiring to. So if I break it down, we talked about it last week, I put it up. Obviously, I can't put my slides up, so I'm just going to take you through it. We talked about the 4 aspects of health literacy. We talked about nutritional health, physical health, we talked about mental health, and we talked about social health. Now, the nutritional health, we eat for tomorrow. We drink for tomorrow. We hydrate to keep ourselves able to provide the energy, provide the momentum, provide that level of intensity to get the job done. So we're not just eating to make sure we can fit into a nice size 8 pair of pants. The idea is we eat to give ourselves the fuel to get the job done. And business is about getting the job done. So although it mightn't be as grandiose and as sort of, exciting potentially as big revenue numbers, without a good, healthy diet, without good posture, without good health practice, none of this is going to matter anyway. The powers of attraction and repulsion is health attracts, illness repulses. At the end of the day, as an individual, as a collection of individuals, as a business, we want to present ourselves in a healthy way. That means we attend to all the small parts. I know all the guys that I'm working with in this program, they're all healthy. They all work towards health. It is an essential and important prioritized part of their life. For myself, I train constantly, not because I want to make sure I stay young. That's impossible. I train constantly to give myself the edge I need to deliver the confident statements that I need to make. I always make sure my posture is correct because that posture gives me positive feedback, helps inspire me. It helps me give me that energy to deliver the content I want to deliver. If I've got weight, if I've got pain, if I've got stiffness, it detracts me. It basically creates a block for me. And I end up mindfully going to that spot. So it doesn't mean that I can't work when I've got issues. It just means it's harder for me. So what do? I train constantly to reduce the occurrence of these issues. I stretch every day. I eat well. I make sure my strength is good. My power to weight ratio is important because then I feel not inhibited by my body, but empowered by my body. I can jump, I can run, I can gesticulate with enthusiasm and energy because my body works. Multiply that out and apply it to business. As a collective, we all work together. If I notice someone in my business is struggling, if I notice someone is maybe a little off, a little sad, a little flat, I take the time to talk to them. I take the time to encourage them. I take the time to assist them because we are as good as the sum of all of our parts. So every single person that I work with is important to me, is an asset to me. And as an asset, I want to care for them. I want to look after them. And in turn, they do the same to me. So the first 3, the nutritional, physical, and mental health, these are all things that reflect our intrinsic value and awareness of ourselves. But the last one, the social health, That's an extrinsic value. That's what we believe others think of us, and it's what is important and what the needs and influence of others themselves. So basically, social health is about the strength of our collective part, the strength of the team, the strength of us as a unit. Because no matter how clever I think I am, I can't do everything on my own. I rely on other people to help me achieve my goals. So part of my plan, part of my process is to always check in on the collective, always check in on the team. So that's really important for us. We're going to run out of time, so I'm really rushing through my part. Sorry, everyone. So when I look at ourselves, when I look at the four of us doing these presentations, we recognise in our conversations that we are all influencers, just as you are. We recognise that our major power is really our ability to motivate and influence others in a positive way. So as a collection of motivated individuals, your business as well and its influence plays a real role in the success of our community's health and development. So don't just think of this business that you're creating or maintaining as something that's going to give you revenue and going to give you lifestyle. This business is a benchmark. This business is setting an example for others. It's giving you a voice, it's giving you a focus, it's giving you an ability to actually impact the world. So the well-being of your business ends up influencing the well-being of others. So when you're asking questions of these guys who are highly experienced and got some great knowledge to share, try and take it back and build it into your business to create a sterling example of something that will influence others and create a momentum or a trickle-on effect that is positive and holistic. And remember what Andrew had on his statement. I really loved. I wrote it down. From little things, big things grow. I love that. All right. Attend the small parts, the posture, the diet, the breath we did last week. Yeah. Exercising for holistic health. You, your colleagues, your team, your business. Okay. Sorry, Anth, I'm going to jump back to you, buddy. I've cut you short.
No worries. Thanks for that, Judd, Andrew and Stefan. A fantastic, insightful session again today. And yeah, we do want to get away closer to time. Went a little bit over last week. I've been answering some of the chat as we've gone along there. And Stefan will revise the polls too and help plan for, the next sessions where we can keep answering your questions. So it really is about helping you guys that are on this this call. And there's a couple there for you, Andrew. You might one from Gautam Gupta. At what stage do we look at business case? For example, currently experiencing a rapid growth, NDIS. Obviously, it was similar to us. We had government subsidies and things like that. We went through it a number of times. When do we add admin? How many people? When? Is it a part-time or full-time? What area? Because that's obviously going to add cost and, end up with some loss for some period of time.
Yeah, it's a great question. I was thinking about that during the week and I failed to actually say it in the presentation today. But to Stefan's point, I certainly believe you've got to continue to reinvest in your business. And there are significant points where in overhead, there's a step ladder. It doesn't go in a linear fashion. It goes up like a stair climb. There are points in time where you're going to take less profit because you put more overhead in to make sure you can cope with your rapid growth. I would say the answer is trust your gut feel. When you know you're milking the brand too far and you're getting too light on, you've got to reinvest, find great people, take the cash hit and get good people, great people to actually accelerate the next phase of profitability. I would never try to push the business too far. There is an important part about staying lean as well. Again, one of our board members talked about, you don't want to have fat around the business that is just not working appropriately or efficiently. And you do have to assess that. I do it every 90 days, every year. We don't want fat, but positive reinvestment in rapid growth is critical. Because when you've got a long 10-year vision, you will be building cash flow and the profitability will come out of it. It doesn't work. Again, one of the thoughts on profit, it's is certainly not linear either. It's like a hockey stick. You might work a long time not making much profit at all, but as soon as you've got that significant market share and the growth is actually cemented in, you watch your profitability grow, and it's far from linear. It goes up at rapid pace as well. So I would put, to answer the question, I would put a serious investment in all the time. Keep reinvesting in your business with confidence. Make sure you get rid of any dead wood, and be lean. So both disciplines are really important, but definitely invest.
And the other one, it's probably a relevant one too, from Andrew Kent, our head of sales and marketing. How important was it were we able to lean on each other throughout that journey? How important was that?
Yeah, I found myself probably choking up a little bit in that part of the presentation, I've got to say, because it does bring back a lot of struggles we had. And I think, Anthony and I, lucky enough to be brothers in 30 years, and you'll have all got different business partners or family members or friends in business. Very difficult. What I was trying to say, which I've updated my slide for next week, is to say that sales drives operations, not the other way around. Don't try and get your business operatively set and all that sort of stuff and wait for the sale. You've got to drive the revenue and let the operations team catch up. Now, to answer Andrew's question, and he was with us for that decade in this fast, rapid growth, helping our marketing expand significantly. He saw the pressures on Anthony and Andrew and our other members. There is healthy tension's great. I mean, we had significant blues. Very rare, maybe 3 or 4 of them in 30 years, but you want that healthy tension. But sales drives operations. But to lean on each other, absolutely. I mean, we had one infamous senior leader meeting. We had 11 team member senior leader team, and we had infighting amongst all of us. And you do not get growth, you do not get lift with infighting within your team. You look at any premier team, keep coming back to the AFL analogy. If you don't have the right team members, I talked about get the bus on the right direction. If the bus is not on the right direction, stop the bus, start turning it around. If you don't have the people on the bus that are the right people, ask them to exit the bus. Ask people to come onto the bus, give them a new seat, and make sure that that bus is then going along with the right people in the right seat in the right direction. Absolutely, Andrew, you have to lean on each other because it's a serious, fast, rapid growth. So coming back to cultures and values of respect and gratefulness are critical in these times, but you've got to have healthy tension in rapid growth.
And I'd probably add with Judd's point there, the health and well-being. So checking in with how we were at times too. There's a lot of stress. Their family business, growing business, and probably Andrew's and mine. The main tension was, if one's on the operation, the actual product, like the kids learning a program, that had to be repeated, 800 times, to very high government standards. So the actual product had to be meeting very high criteria from the actual government. So that got harder and harder from a real cottage type program where you could do just about anything. So there was that to consider while selling was still, a big opportunity there. As Andrew said, rural areas, interstate, we're looking at overseas, all sorts of things. So it was important to check in. And I think those things Judd said about, making sure we ate well and kept fit, in between, the mental side, as that's developed the last few years, probably a lot easier and better now to access things that can help your mental health and well-being. But the influence was massive, Judd, that point you said there to socialise and make sure our family values came through. So we did love all our staff and didn't matter if it was a cleaner at one of our remote schools to, the CEO or the CIO, we had to make sure we're all as one. So terrific from you to Judd today. And we had I've answered a few questions there on the way. Thanks, Phil. And, Lisa had a couple there again. So that was terrific. Again, Stefan, brilliant, on the, that was just fantastic again. Leadership, common goal, rules, culture, action plan, risks, risk-taking. I mean, they're all just crucial takeaways, that unique selling proposition, emotional, and the community. I really love that at the end, like Andrew and I had a lot of advocates. I mean, we didn't, sometimes I used to think, our clientele, because we tried so hard to look after our customers and get the product right, that sometimes the sales became easy because you just got good influence from lots of people in regions who like what we did. So I think that's a really good point from Stefan there on point 3. You had done selling. And of course, the result, I love that, the result, repeat and refer, for profit. 3 great R's there. And, Andrew's presentation today was just brilliant. The driving of growth, the last 3 feet was one of our classics, and having a little plan, like little acronyms or whatever you have in your business that you can share with your key leaders. And a lot of the chat came through how far did you share your goals? And of course, from the board down, senior leadership drove their departments in our businesses. We had a lot of individual sites, so they drove more operational program goals, but still had goals to achieve by government people checking on the standards that we met for kids' health and wellbeing and nutrition and activities they did, all sorts of things. So there was definitely some measurements there that we had to have. And I think the 10-year, that vision, as Andrew said, we always stretched our vision, stretched goals, and it makes you get out of bed every day and run real fast and work really hard. Now, that was the other thing, I suppose, that we our work ethic, I suppose from that sporting background too, was just to push, sometimes to our detriment, physically, mentally, and socially. You had to sacrifice a lot. You do have to sacrifice things to actually drive, but you got to be fully committed. And that was, that I think Judd talked about collective effort. I was just thinking about, commitment, staying connected, but being very community minded in what you do. And, those things are really important to take into consideration, because business, you can get pretty tunnel vision for money and profit. But I think keeping all that in perspective is, keeps you nice and balanced and rounded as well with your endeavors. So I think that's covered most of the chat today, guys, and summarise what we've done. So I think if there's any other questions or the panellists want to add anything to finish, I think we're just about ready to round it up.
I might just conclude from my part, Anthony. I know that Stefan mentioned last week, some of the information we're providing is not about us trying to promote who we are, what we've done, other than to share a real story. And this is being summarised in pretty much 15 minutes, which has taken 30 years. So we are delighted to help people in our mentoring capacity that can unpack so much more of each of the points that's raised. I mean, when I talk about that personal journey, Anthony and I both had our mental challenges. That's why we've sought now an understanding of our growth, our personal growth, through the work that Judd does, because we think it's critical to look after yourself and your family in this journey. But rapid fire business is so exciting and fun as well. So to get the right balance, and as Stefan said, we've got a tight schedule, but it's so much more to help you guys if you feel, and it's great answering those questions. So we really thank you for listening in today.
And success is a journey. I mean, there's never a rapid growth story that didn't have a long journey to get to that point. So anytime speed is involved, there's going to be an accident. So get really clear, get really focused, get really disciplined. I mean, how you choose your 8 to 10, sometimes 12 hours a day makes the difference as to where you'll be in 12 months' time. The decisions you make a yes or a no to will definitely impact where you are in 12 months' time. And if it was meant to be easy, everyone would be doing it. So, 13% of the adult population in the world are either leading or owning a business, which means 9 out of 10 are not. I have no idea who's right or wrong, but I'm going to sort of suggest again, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And all my problems today did start out as a great idea.
Yeah, good, Stefan. I'd just like to say too, the business is an opportunity. So make sure you enjoy the ride, and to make sure, I suppose, or to help, establish yourself as someone who's really worthy of influencing society. Try and keep yourself as well as possible, so you can always present the best version of yourself. Thanks, guys.
On that note, it's a great one to enjoy the rest of the day, enjoy the rest of the week. See you next Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.